Welcome back to the 1 Degree Effect podcast. I'm Coach Paul Malella. I'm a solo podcaster today, giving my wife Gina the podcast day off because she just works so hard at everything she does. But anyway, I'm so grateful and humbled that you're all either listening or tuning in, watching this. So grateful and humbled. The biggest compliment we can ever get is a like, a subscribe, or pay it forward and share if we are providing a little value or inspiration in the multidimensional success arena. That is our intent here. So this show is always about small internal shifts, 1 degree shifts, 1 degree decision, 1 degree standard, 1 degree habits, and decisions that quietly over time compounds, but permanently impacts and improves our lives to be better every single day for our personal and professional lives. So today's episode is not going to be this motivational hype. It's about discipline. And our focus today is going to be about the next play. I'm always talking about what's the play, the next play. And they're going to be micro and macro plays. That's going to be the focus and topic today. But it's all about something that I believe it took me decades to learn, years of learning. And once I did these little things, it changed everything in my life and in my businesses. So it's called next play thinking. And if you don't master this, life is going to keep on, and business is going to keep on dragging you backward while you're trying to move forward. Okay. So for a long time, and this is just my personal experience, I allowed in my life and in my business, I allowed a lot of emotions get hijacked and took over. I'm what you call an emotional puppet at time. And so I would let frustration drive me. I would let disappointment drive me, regret drive me, anger drive me. And I let a past situation or circumstance kind of sit in and dominate me in the front seat of my life. Okay, give me a second while my son's yelling at me on my podcast. Forgive me, shut the door, no interruptions. But that's what happens when you have teenagers and cats roaming around the house. But it'll drive a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, just like that. What you saw is real life situation. And without me realizing it, I was not fully present. I'm sure some of you can experience that. So here's the truth that most people aren't going to tell you, that we all miss at times. Our power only exists in this present moment. I used to hate that, because most of you hear me talk about the story of the 3 swords, right? Past, present, future. And it's really hard for me to stay focused and be present. Most entrepreneurs and people I coach, we're always thinking about the future. We're always future-based. People that live in regret and anger and disappointment at times, they're living in the past. And so power exists in this present moment right now. Not 5 minutes ago, what just took place. Actually, it's kind of cool that just happened. Pierce is yapping at me. And then I had to shut that door as my cat Vader actually opened the door. And so between my cat Vader and Pierce, there was an interruption. But I have to erase that memory and move forward and be present again. That's actually pretty funny how that worked. But not 5 minutes ago, not yesterday, not the last call, not the last fight, not the last mistake. It took years for me to practice this. And I would probably say hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in personal development and still investing in myself actually every year. And over 51, almost 52 years of life experience. And a lot of hard lessons for me to kind of learn. So, but the moment I stopped consuming information and started living the disciplined life, everything changed. So I trained my mind and still training my mind to change my lenses, my framework of my life or how I view things. And most people, including me at times, we only know one lens. And I was always in the framework of the next appointment, the next sale, the next business, the next building, the next level of revenue, the next play, the next conversation. And the second something doesn't go our way, we're mentally gone, literally mentally gone. And here's the rule now that I'm living by. Do not focus on what just happened. We have to learn how to refocus on what's happening literally right now. And let me just frame this out. All three realms are important. You know what I mean? I'm not like this person that says kumbaya, live in the moment at all times. I think all three realms are important, but we have to learn how to use each realm. And where I think a lot of the reframing is, especially when you're a high performer, and this is where we're going to go today, where I don't care, a high performing athlete, and this is where I like to learn a lot of stuff in high performance athletes and how I could transfer this philosophy into high performing business humans. Okay. So the refocusing on right now, that's what we call the micro, right? In those small little frameworks, in the hour blocks, in the moment blocks, in the day, right? And, if I have a high performer and they got 8, 9, 10 appointments in a day, and one of them didn't go well, it's kind of like a play in a sport. They got to clear their mind and they got to move on to the next play, the next appointment, without losing their confidence and momentum. Okay. And that's not easy to do. It's like, takes a lot of work. Right. And that's where a lot of us fall apart. If I had a meeting that didn't go well or a conversation didn't well, I was screwed up for the rest of my day. I was out of vibrational frequency. I couldn't get in the zone again to kind of kick ass in my coaching call or close that next sale or whatever it is. I was messed up. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate because I have these conversations all week long with financial advisors and salespeople that got to reframe their mind. I got to talk them on and off the ledge every time I'm on the phone with them. It is like I always talk about. It's a roller coaster, right? That's what business is like and life. So we never zoom out, or very rarely do we zoom out. So I had to force myself to ask uncomfortable macro questions. What's the next play? And I'm gonna frame this around life, right? So at like almost 52, I have to ask myself and go, all right, Paul, what's the next play when my kids leave the house? I got one in college, one about to go to the Citadel. We're in a weird way, almost empty nesters. And I hate to even say this, but this is just the reality of it. As 52, parents are getting older. My in-laws are getting older. I know this is the season of life that I'm in, right? At this age. And man, Paul, what's the next play? My parents at this age, I'm at this age, knowing that time is undefeated. Like time's going to come. We all know this, right? It's inevitable. What's the next play for my company? 1 Degree Coaching. How big do I want to serve? How big do I want to scale? Right? How far do we want to go? At almost 52, I know for a fact I'm not slowing down. I'm learning to calm down. That's how I frame that out, right? I'm not slowing down. Well, that freaks a lot of people out. Like, how much more? When's enough? That's not how I'm built. And it's not how the people that hire me, we're not built that way. I've learned to calm down, but I'm not slowing down. And many people that hire me aren't like that either, or are like that too. They want to grow, right? But what I like to focus in on is we just got to get sharper and more clear and more patient, more locked in. And I ask myself, Gino, like what's next? Next 10 years look like? Next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, what's that going to look like for us? What's that next play for us? And so these are what we call macro transitions. And a lot of people don't put a lot of thought energy into that. Okay. And the difference is most people, we react when they arrive to a certain level, right? High performers prepare before they get there. I want you to just let that sink in. They actually put some thought energy into this. It's fascinating. I remember Gina and I, we talk about this all the time. We went to Tony Robbins 25, 30 years ago, and he had us frame out stuff 10, 20, 30 years into the future. And man, as I look back now, 30 years in business, it'll be 26 years married, almost 30 years together with my wife. Man, there's a lot of things we look back. I'm like, man, we were visualizing and outlining a lot of it. Now, listen, there's a lot of adversity that we weren't anticipating. That's another podcast. I believe, God humbles us and is in control, but there was a lot of things that we were mapping out and really put a lot of clarity to, and we did it. Right. And the average person don't spend a lot of time doing stuff like that. They don't. I mean, you look up statistically, I believe the average human will spend more time planning a vacation, setting up some type of community party, or planning a weekend event, or they're more than they would plan out their own day or a year, or let alone their whole friggin' life. Right? That's just the truth. Look it up. It's like a statistic. Okay. That's not bad luck. That's called undisciplined thinking, no planning, right? And that's not the way it should work. My opinion. That's my opinion. Okay. I see this in business all the time. And now we talk about a little bit of micro stuff. They miss a sale, one sale, they get a no. And they drag that energy into another call or the next meeting, or worse, into the home when they come back, or when they're finished with their day. We miss a deal. And now someone's hesitant. They question their self-worth, their confidence, they're tentative. That's happened. That happens. You got to protect that confidence. Now they're off vibrational frequency, off rhythm, out of the zone, whatever terminology you all want to use. Or life, like it hit me, it will punch you right in the mouth, right in the face. You get punched in the face. And they don't have no next play. No next play. High performers don't do that. I learned that the hard way. And if you study elite, which I do, elite athletes, elite coaches, they've trained one dominant thought. Okay. Bad play, that play's over. Bad game, that game's over. Done, finished, gone. And they execute the very next play, the very next game. On to the next. On to the next. It's almost like they've trained themselves to have amnesia, right? They block it out. So let's kind of bring this back down to the micro level. One of the most common questions my high level clients ask me is, well, how do you actually do this? Right? There's an example I heard in another podcast, and it was talking about Kobe Bryant. And they're like real stories about Kobe, like missing, let's just say, a whole bunch of shots in a game. And I think it was like 8 shots he missed or something like that. 8. Imagine 8 shots you miss, 8 no's you get, 8 rejections you get, however you want to frame it. Most people or most players, they tighten up and they'd stop shooting. They'd stop taking action. They'd pass the ball. They get afraid. They kind of want to protect any ego that's left over. But Kobe Bryant, no, he takes that 9 shot. Takes the 9 shot, right? With the same level of confidence and conviction. Why? Because elite performers do not carry emotional residue into the next moment. They don't do it. And I say it all the time to my clients. I'm like, here's the framework. You catch it, you scratch it, you erase and replace. Catch that thought, scratch it. Like, I'm dating myself, right? When I was younger, we had CDs or DVDs. Man, if you scratch my CD or DVD, I can't play that movie or that song, and you erase and replace it. How fast? Dude, that fast. That's a lot of work. Catch it, scratch it, erase, replace. You catch that thought, you catch that emotion, right? You scratch it like it's a record or a CD. It's a mental record or CD, which now we don't have these anymore, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. You erase the story in your mind immediately, like you just got amnesia. High performers have this ability to have short-term memory loss, right? They don't allow that the first no's, the first 8 misses, the first rejections to mess up their 9th opportunity. I want you all to hear this clearly. We cannot allow emotions dictate our behavior. Can't, right? Every emotion does serve a purpose. You know, God created them, right? They're there for a reason. Disappointment is allowed. Emotions, they should not drive your car. If you're only disciplined when you feel good, if you're only focused when things are working, if you're only kind to your family or your clients when life is easy, you will be literally inconsistent by definition. Elite performers separate emotion from standard. That's it. They separate emotion from standard. You know what? It's okay to feel disappointed. Go ahead, feel it for a second, right? And there was another story. I think it was Deion Sanders. You know, he says, "Yeah, I have a bad day, but I don't go past the morning." He allows himself to absorb whatever that emotion is, go in his little meditation area, whatever he does in the morning, and he says something like how he releases it right away, right? And you got to make sure that you catch it, scratch it, erase, replace as fast as you can, right? But you do not lower your standard. That separation is everything if you want to be a high performer. All right. So let's pivot to the identity piece. Okay. Because I think identity drives everything. It drives your behavior, your image, all of it. And most of us, our confidence at times could be fragile because it's always attached to outcomes. Man, I have this all the time with clients. You know, the outcome on the sale, the outcome of their production or club level. And if they don't do it, it literally ruins their self-image, right? Because they're identifying as this level of producer, okay? And once they miss a couple sales, get a couple no's, if they miss whatever, they spiral. They go right down into the pit. They miss a target and they start questioning themselves, literally, right? And they start losing their momentum. It disappears. Dude, that's a trap. It literally is a trap. You cannot attach your self-worth to the outcome because you do not control outcomes. You don't. God controls outcomes. Learn that the hard way. Now, we can focus on all the good things that we want by all means, you know, but I like to think I'm process-driven. Okay? I do. I attach my identity to my standards, my discipline, my effort, my preparation, my attitude. You're not going to control the sale. You're not. Sorry. I like to think that, right? You're not going to control other people. Wish I could, but you're not. You do not control all those outside circumstances. You do control how you show up, how you literally show up. And consistency beats confidence every time because you get to build it when you're consistent. Get right back at it. You know, I just keep on thinking like Rocky Balboa, and that first Rocky just keeps on getting back up. Relentless, man. Relentless. Okay. So, confidence is key, but consistency is going to create that no matter what. The no's come, consistent. It's never give up. Never give up. The only time you fail is by quitting. And real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. So I've been saying to myself, and I hold myself accountable to a lot of my coaching clients that have been with me years. I have something called the Uncommon Club, and I email them during the week, Monday through Friday at 4:40. And what I've been doing, I kind of shared this today. I started in January, one degree. January, I set my alarm clock for 4:39. February, 4:38. Next month in March, 4:37. Every month, I'm going to make my alarm clock set for one minute earlier. And my neighbor asked me, he said, why are you doing that? Because it's 1 minute harder. And over a year, that's 12, almost 12, 15 minutes I just added to my routine. I can build on it. But if I'm setting that alarm for 4:40, 4:39, 48, 4:38, whatever that number is, and I do it, that builds up my confidence. That's my identity. My clients know that my standard's high. No one's watching me except for me and God. But when we hit snooze, and I'll admit there have been times that I did hit snooze. Recently, I've not. Confidence will start to disappear and erode. Okay. That's confidence demonstrated. So high performers, we win because they put in the work during unseen hours. Okay. That's it. Kobe was taking the shots. Kobe was practicing. If he says if these NBA players were doing this many hours, he was doing more hours while they were all sleeping. Okay. And that's it. That's what makes you the 1%er, right? It's not lucky. He just put in the work. Okay. And they train their minds as well. They visualize their outcomes. They prepare while other people are sleeping. And then when the lights are on and the game's out or the appointments there, people call them lucky. Man, they ain't lucky. You put in more work while you were sleeping, or you were watching TV and Netflix at night, while you hit snooze and woke up hours before that person, that he was already done with his whole training routine, right? And here's the next thing. The final thing is our voices. And a lot of people know that I call it your little voices. It's that voice in your head. And we all got them, right? We all got them. We have at least two. We have at least two voices, say it all the time. And if you're like me, you got more than two voices. I got names for every single one of them. And anyone listener watching this shit right now going, who's this guy think he is? I don't got two voices in my head. That's actually the voice I'm talking about. Is that one right there saying that stuff to you? We all got it. We all have them, right? The question is, does that voice train you or tear you down? We all know it. It's how that voice talks to us. It determines how we show up under pressure. Or are you training that voice? Are we controlling that process? Are we controlling that level of discipline? And over time, you don't just improve, you become dangerous in life and business and leadership. Okay. And you're always going to, I actually name my voices. I've said this on many podcasts. All my clients know this. I got easy target Paul. That kid was bullied at 7 years old. I got second best Paul. He would always win regional, martial art championships, but never a national championship, falls short, silver medal, bronze medal, right? I got wise ass Paul, skinny, short, he could fight, but he was always talking smack and trying to overcompensate because he was self-conscious. But I got Grandmaster Malala, who was in a martial art uniform, and he was a dominant voice inside my mind for the majority of my adult professional career. Humble, respectful. That dude don't curse. Very spiritual. I got perfect Paul, and I always frame this out. God's perfect. I believe we have perfection within us. But this is someone that was like, never again am I going to be second best. Whatever I'm doing, I'm giving it my personal best. I want to be whatever it is in my industry, a 1%er. And then I got Coach Paul, who's slightly edgy, right? And wants the best out of his coaching clients. And there's a Darth Paul, like Darth Vader. You don't want that guy to come out, but if he's useful at times, if you mess with my family. But that's what I'm talking about. And then there's lazy Paul. There's all these different things. So you got to control those voices, okay? Because you're either training it or it's training you. So here's the question I want to leave y'all. What's your next play? Not just today, not just in the week, but the bigger picture of your life, micro and macro, right? Don't just wait. I want you to react. I want you to decide, prepare, execute. And that's the 1 degree effect, right? Learn to catch it, scratch it, erase, replace, control the voices, have intention when you start your day, know what your play is for the day, be intentional. And if something doesn't go your way, you're going to have to learn how to fix it real quick, have that little amnesia, and on to the next play. But you on the next play with conviction and confidence and certainty. I hope this helps. I hope there's some value there. A little bit short of a show, but one little habit, one little decision, one little standard, raising of your standards over time, your life will change. And we become better every single day. And our wish for you is that you're not the same person from yesterday. You're not the same person from a year ago. You're better. Who are you better for? Your family, clients, your legacy, and hopefully God. So until next time, see you on the next episode, and be better every day. Thank you all.